This video emerged from South Carolina's 31-30 loss at Texas A&M over the weekend, where the officer on your screen, a Texas state trooper, intentionally went in between two South Carolina football players and raised his left arm, which led to a bump. That trooper is in the spotlight. He would point and yell at Nick Harbor and Oscar Adway III. This was after Harbor caught an 80-yard touchdown pass but walked up the tunnel because his right leg appeared to be injured. You can see the reaction from the players with their palms up, basically asking, "Hey man, what gives?" The officer would continue berating the D1 football players, and there were many reactions to this.
What happened at the Texas A&M South Carolina football game is unacceptable for an officer who is there to protect everyone in the stadium to walk toward those young players with that level of aggression, that level of intention, that level of purpose, and that purpose being nothing for good is something that just can't happen. In this situation, someone who is in that stadium to protect them is the aggressor. And here's my biggest problem with the whole thing. There was 100,000 people in the stands. There were two entire football teams on the field, and there were millions of people watching on TV. So what kind of decisions does this officer make when no one is watching, when there are no immediate consequences? And thank God that Texas A&M acted extremely quickly to at least try to rectify the situation so everyone on that football field and in those stands could feel safe. But this is a cautionary tale. This is a warning. There are those people that feel so entitled and so empowered and have that level of audacity and also intoxication on power that they believe that they're above the law. It's not just about protecting those young men on the field, which is something we have to do. It's about protecting those young people in these streets, in these schools, that just walk around in everyday life from those who don't understand the power of the badge and the responsibility of it.
Ryan Clark, host of the Pivot podcast, a former NFL player, Super Bowl champion, and football analyst on ESPN, spoke on it.
My first thought in seeing this, and I even posted it, this was my first thought, was that if he will do this in front of a crowded filled stadium where he knows the cameras are on him, he knows that this player just got a touchdown, he knows everybody is watching, and he has no issues behaving the way that he behaved for the entire world to see. So if he's willing to do that with no hesitation, what is he doing when he stops black people on the side of the road as a highway patrolman? How does he act in his everyday interactions with black people in particular? If you're willing to scold an athlete who literally just scored a touchdown in front of everybody, how are you acting in your everyday practice as a policeman? And that is the bigger issue to me. When you say, yes, you want everybody to kind of limit their expectations that he's probably not going to get fired. Being sent home for the day is nothing. That was nothing. That's not. Yeah, that's a little a light tap on the wrist, not even a smack. That's a light tap. You know what I mean? What he should have been, in my opinion, was fired on the spot. There should have been an address by the head of the Texas police or the Texas state troopers that said, "This is not what we're about. This is not what we stand for. This is not our, what we teach. This is not what is acceptable for us." That's what it should have been immediately, but we didn't see that.
Former NBA player turned activist Eaton Thomas weighed in as well.
Would you ever behave like that when you're an officer?
I mean, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, it's called policing with your ego. I mean, is it right? No. And I think that it's fine time that law enforcement, in an effort to be transparent, starts letting the public know how it is that they are disciplining their officers when they engage in such public displays of inappropriate and aggressive conduct.
So I think he should be fired. And people are not saying, they're just saying it's an ego. That was a cop hopped up on power and it was racist, period. You don't need a panel discussion to see it. You don't need a PhD or a think tank. You can watch that tape. And the truth just jumps right out you as to what it is. That was a man in uniform. He wanted to remind this group of young black men right in the middle of their moment that he was the authority in the building, and he wanted in the stadium. He wanted dominance, and he wanted the last word. He wanted them to feel small.
As did Don Lemon and Michael Fanone.
I've heard a number of people talk about how he needs to be fired. That's a good start. But that uncivilized mutt need charges brought against him, because that was a clear assault. That was assault. And that uncivilized mutt should be charged. Had it been the other way around, and the player was frustrated that his team was losing, and he saw the home team cop standing around or walking through the tunnel, and he intentionally walked in his direction and shoved him, we already know assault charges would be filed right now. They'd be all over the internet and up in arms. Fox News would be having a ball with this.
Ditto with Willie D. Live. Thomas would write for The Guardian. Why didn't the DPS call an immediate press conference and condemn the trooper's actions? Why didn't they say his behavior was appalling, disgusting, and unacceptable, and not what they teach their state troopers to do? In another paragraph he wrote, before they try to no Angel Harbor, it's important to note that he won the 2023 Franklin D. Watkins Memorial Award, a prize which honors African-American high schoolers who excel in athletics, academics, and charity work. Aside from his football career, Harbor has won national titles in track, volunteered at a soup kitchen, and worked with Generosity Global, which campaigns to improve women's health in Africa. Harbor is majoring in public health and has been on the SEC academic honor roll 2 years in succession. My thoughts are with the consensus on this. And let me just also add, there seems to be this talking point of, well, if he's doing this with the cameras on him, what's he doing with the cameras off? Yeah, I agree, but let's not assume that he knew that the cameras were on him. I actually think that's unfair, because I think if he knew that the cameras were on him, he wouldn't have done this. If there was some monitor that he looked up at as he was going to the tunnel, he would have stepped aside. I'm telling you. And I'm not giving him any excuse. There is still potential that he would, but like knowing that an ESPN camera that is being fed to millions of people and will be replayed millions upon millions of times, I actually think that he would have stepped aside to cover up his own indiscretions or what he wanted to do. But the fact that he decided to wedge himself between two players, raise his arm, give a nudge, there is a window there for him to just go through because they stepped aside. There was room, and he didn't. Shows you everything about that man. Michael Fanone basically saying that it is ego policing. Completely agree, because every single police officer is egotistical to the gills. This is who they are. This is what they represent. This is what they're all about. What they love to do is take advantage of black people in this country. We have quite literally decades of this. Police started out as slave patrols. It's in this dude's blood to think that way. And the fact that he hasn't been relieved and he just got sent home, an abomination. But it's Texas. And it's also policing. So why are we surprised? We should be calling for more oversight. We should be calling for, once again, as I have said a million times on these videos about police brutality and misconduct, if something like this happens and there's a lawsuit, pay should be docked from him over time and from the police budget. And we should stop giving endless checks so people like this can go on ego trip after ego trip. And if he does get punished, it's coming from the taxpayers and not from him. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.